The silence before the storm. Orbit above Earth. Galactic Empire warship Voryx Fawn. Admiral Trels Varnick stood tall, with his 6 limbs folded behind his back, overlooking the swirling blue planet beneath the glass deck. Earth, a primitive backwater on the edge of the Sagittarius Arm. He had expected more resistance. Instead, he found a squabbling species with patchwork defenses and quaint orbital weapons. "We've already neutralized 5 of their major population centers," reported his tactical officer, glancing up from a shimmering holomap. "Loss is minimal. Their surface resistance is scattered and technologically inconsistent." Trell smirked. As expected, the Council's fears were overblown. Earth will be pacified within the cycle. One clean strike, then they'll kneel. As protocol dictated, he initiated a standard diplomatic hail. It was less a courtesy and more a formality, allowing the defeated to surrender before full planetary subjugation. The view screen pulsed. Static. Then connection. A human appeared. He stood in a dimly lit room, face partly obscured, jawline bloodied, uniform torn and charred. The insignia on his chest bore a sigil, a broken earth with wings of fire behind it. The room behind him was shaking faintly from distant impacts. Somewhere a siren wailed. He stared directly into the screen. In Trell's eyes, the alien admiral opened his mandibles to speak, but the human raised a hand, silently commanding attention. Trells hesitated. The human's voice came low, steady, and terrifyingly calm. "You attacked our home." That was all he said. No declarations. No threats. No demands. The screen went black. Silence. For a moment, the bridge of Voryx Fawn held its breath. Then Trells burst into a harsh, clicking laugh. "That's it? No negotiation? No begging? Huh. One sentence. What a waste of comms bandwidth." Laughter rippled through the bridge. Officers relaxed. One muttered, "Perhaps they're dumber than we thought." The Admiral turned away. "Very well. Ready the next wave. Let's finish this." But they never got the chance. Without warning, the ship's hull shuddered. Then a scream. Then gravity twisted as the vessel pitched sideways, throwing crew against walls and consoles. Lights dimmed. Emergency klaxons shrieked. "Report." Trells barked. "Multiple impacts. Unknown craft. Too small to register on long-range scans. Where are our fighters?" "Gone, sir. All gone." In less than 10 seconds, an explosion ripped through the forward decks. The bridge's view screen snapped to static, then reformed, this time showing outside. The Empire's flagship, over 2 kilometers long, was being torn apart. Tiny black shapes zipped through space, moving with impossible speed and coordination. They weren't ships, they were machines. Fluid in motion, silent, utterly deadly. They didn't fire traditional weapons. Instead, they carved holes in hulls, slipped inside, and detonated systems from within. A swarm of them had already burrowed into the engineering section. The ship's core was overheating. Too fast. It couldn't be stopped. Trell staggered as the deck pitched again. He could hear the death cries of his crew through the failing comms. Limbs severed. Organs ruptured. Air turned to fire. This is a war crime," he shrieked. "We haven't even." The ship cracked. Right down the middle. The Voryx Fawn was the pride of the Sector 9 Armada. It was now too burning have spiraling into Earth's atmosphere. In its final seconds, Admiral Trells glimpsed the impossible. Earth's surface defenses coming online one by one, revealing weapons the Empire had never seen on their scans. They hadn't been primitive. They'd been hidden, and humanity had waited, watched, and prepared, all because of one sentence. The first sleepless night. Outer Rim listening post, Telvain Sector, 36 hours after initial Earth strike. Scribe Marshal Zeevil clicked nervously through sensor feeds, one after another, each marked the same. No signal. 10 outposts gone dark. No distress calls. No black box transmissions. No debris fields. Just silence. He turned to his superior, Vice Lord Helkrin, whose face showed the same disbelief etched deep in every twitch of his tendrils. "Sir, these facilities were fortified. They monitored 3 sectors. Even a solar flare wouldn't knock them all offline at once. Helgren hissed. Keep scanning. This is sabotage. Has to be. Rebels, mercs, pirates, anyone but the Terrans. But they both knew it. It was the Terrans. High orbit over Nilos 3. Empire Outpost 441C. Colonel Velik paced the observation deck, watching orbital patrols pass in precise formation. The humans couldn't possibly reach this deep into the Empire's interior. Not with Earth only recently added to the Imperial Threat Index. Not unless. His thought was interrupted by a flicker on the perimeter sensors. A glitch? Then another. Then a burst of data. Unregistered object detected. $0 Inbound. Trajectory. Direct collision. Velik rushed to the control station. Identify. Can't, the technician stammered. They're not on any known spectral band. There. Then the station exploded. Imperial War Council, Central Command, Capital Planet Virex Prime. The holotable flickered with red across entire sectors. Imperial marshals, envoys, even nobles gathered in stunned silence. No pattern, one general said, voice hollow. No messages. No responses to surrender signals. They strike, vanish, and leave nothing but slag. Another leaned forward. They've hit fuel depots, logistics hubs, shipyards, deep space beacons. This is targeted, coordinated, surgical, by a race that just learned faster than light travel, sneer high strategist Valgren. Impossible. This isn't a war. It's a purge. Emperor Talvarn finally spoke, his voice strained. How many dead? Unknown. Conservative estimates, several million. In under 2 rotations. The room fell into tense silence. Then an aide entered, trembling. We received a recording, your radiance. From who? He swallowed. We don't know. It just appeared in our archive route. All our systems simultaneously. The lights dimmed. A human face emerged, scarred, unsmiling, lit from below like a phantom. The same man who spoke before. He didn't speak again. Instead, a montage played, the destruction of New York, Shanghai, Lagos, Earth cities decimated by Imperial orbital strikes. Then human children, burned, crying, buried in rubble. Then silence. Then a single phrase written across the screen in blood-red script. We heard you. We are responding. The video ended. No fanfare. No music. Just silence. The kind that scratches your bones. Command Ship Vengeance Dawn, somewhere in the Eltern dust field. General Elias Morrow stood in the bridge's command alcove, watching his warfleet regroup. A dozen stealth cruisers, hundreds of autonomous strike drones, dozens of Black Ops mech suits, all built under Earth's highest secrecy directive, Final Response Protocol. He wore no medals. His eyes held no softness. Status? He asked. A commander responded, all primary Empire nodes targeted for Phase 1 have been neutralized. Civilian casualties, 0. Military fatalities, complete. Elias gave a slow nod. Weapons caches for Phase 2. Loaded. Operation Ghost Veil, cleared for launch in 8 hours. Good. He stepped forward, voice calm. No contact. No broadcasts. They made contact first, and they made it with fire. From here on, they'll only hear the answer. His second in command, a woman with a titanium prosthetic arm, murmured, You think they'll break? Elias turned. They've already broken. They just haven't realized it yet. Civilian hub world, Empire core ring. Whispers. The humans didn't come with demands. They didn't ask for tribute. They didn't broadcast ultimatums like other barbarian species the Empire had crushed. They just came and erased. Tales spread in shadows of entire fleets vanishing, of soldiers screaming through comms as invisible weapons tore them apart. Families stopped sleeping. Governors declared martial law. Religious leaders proclaimed omens. What kind of species only says one sentence, then makes you pray they never speak again? Somewhere deep in the Imperial Palace, Emperor Talvarn couldn't sleep. His bodyguard hovered nearby, silent. The chamber was sealed, sterilized, guarded by the finest warriors the galaxy had ever bred. Still, he trembled. He remembered the human's face. Remembered the words. So simple. So final. You attacked our home. And now, the Empire hadn't slept since. Retribution Protocol. Imperial Science Directorate. Black Site N-12. Classified level. Eternal Vault. Dr. Akel Thrin was not a military officer. He was a historian, an archivist for the Empire's secret acquisitions. And what he had uncovered chilled even his reptilian blood. A terminal beeped softly as he pulled up the intercepted Earth intelligence files, ones buried in the classified data vaults long before the invasion. The Council had deemed them irrelevant, primitive, not worth analysis. They had been wrong. He projected the hololog and trembled as the Terran history unfolded. The humans had survived extinction dozens of times. Plagues, global wars, a nuclear near-apocalypse, asteroid threats, climate collapse, AI rebellions. And each time they didn't die. They adapted. They weaponized failure. Akel's fingers shook as he opened the last file, labeled in a language long thought impossible for a new species to possess. Final Response Protocol. A contingency built not for war, but for vengeance. For eradication. The Empire hadn't invaded a planet. They had awoken something ancient, something human, something patient. He stumbled away from the screen and made a frantic call. We have to stop this. We need peace. Now. But there would be no answer, because across the galaxy, the second phase had already begun. Edge of the core sectors. Human battle carrier Ares Wake. Elias Morrow stood in the command theater, maps and enemy data forming swirling holograms around him. Dozens of Imperial sectors were marked in red. Civilian zones highlighted in green, off-limits. Humanity would not become monsters. But vengeance? That would be surgical. Elias gestured to the projection. We disable their weapons first. No power, no shields, no voice. Then we burn their arsenals. Then their war factories. We will not conquer. We will not rule. We erase the sword from their hand, so they can never lift it again. His officers nodded. Any survivors? One asked. Elias' face was stone. They'll live in silence. No speeches. No threats. They'll just remember. Forever. He stepped off the dais. His path was clear. No one attacks home and walks away untouched. Imperial Shipyard Core World, Varkon 3. The largest war factory in the Empire churned constantly. Titanic starcruisers built in orbital rings the size of moons. Then came the Black Edge. The sky blinked. No arrival. No grand entrance. Just presence. One moment, the facility functioned. The next, every orbital relay died. Workers looked up and saw streaks of black fire darting silently across the atmosphere. Then the explosions began. Controlled, rhythmic, one after another, slicing the factory apart in the exact reverse order of its construction, as if humans had studied every bolt. The attack lasted 7 minutes. Varkon 3 no longer had a shipyard, just memories. Classified Intelligence Vault, Empire's Internal Security Division. Agent Caltrin stood over the holo display, reviewing what little footage they had. Every surviving officer gave the same descriptions. The ships appeared from nowhere. They ignored hails. No demands. They destroyed only military targets. They knew exactly where to hit. It was like they'd been watching us for years. And the worst part? They probably had. Who's leading them? He demanded. One operative hesitated, then pulled up a profile. General Elias Morrow, Earth Defense Command. Presumed dead after the destruction of New York Sector. Lost family in the first orbital strike. Morrow had gone silent. Until now. Find him, Caltrin ordered. But they couldn't, because Morrow didn't hide. He simply moved, from shadow to strike, each blow erasing a piece of the Empire's power, until nothing remained but fear. Empire homeworld, Virex Prime, outer defense grid. A fleet of human ships emerged, just 20, far fewer than expected. But these weren't scouts. They were Retribution incarnate. Empire High Admiral Correction stood on the bridge of the Glory's Blade, his massive fleet arrayed behind him. We outnumber them 10 to 1, he said, almost convincing himself. Then his sensors went blind. The human ships launched nothing. No missiles, no beams, just small, dart-like objects that vanished in a hyperspace. Seconds later, the outer fleet began collapsing, not from attack but from within. Systems shorted. Engines froze. Internal shields flipped, turning inward. Weapons meant to destroy others, now destroying themselves. It was sabotage on a scale never imagined. Then a final message came across all frequencies. No voice. Just words. You taught us silence. We learned it well. The humans didn't finish the battle. They simply walked through it. Deep orbit, human flagship Judgment Star. Elias watched from the observation deck, his expression unreadable. Empire fleet neutralized. Homeworld exposed, came the report. He nodded once. We don't fire on cities, he said. They need to rebuild. To remember. A pause. But leave one message. Just one. On the Emperor's tower, carved in orbital precision by a single human drone, the message etched itself in colossal letters visible from the surface. You attacked our home. Echoes of one sentence. Imperial Palace, Virex Prime, Throne Hall ruins. Emperor Talvarn sat alone on the fractured remains of his obsidian throne. The tower had been breached not with bombs, but precision. The upper levels vaporized, yet the palace below remained untouched. No bodies, no blood, just messages. Every wall bore the same phrase, engraved with surgical care. You attacked our home. He hadn't eaten in days. Sleep was impossible. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw it. Earth in flames, burning cities, children crying through static. And then came silence. The silence that followed the sentence. The silence that spoke louder than a fleet. For all his power, Talvarn had never felt smaller. Reconstruction Colony. Outer Rim Border World, former Imperial Sector. Civilian life struggled to begin again. The war factories were gone. The military installations wiped. The chain of command? Shattered. And yet, no human ships remained. No occupation. No overlords. No demands. Just wreckage and echoes. Children played in rubble. Parents wept for lost ones. And rumors spread like fire across the colonies. The humans weren't monsters. They could have raised the empire into ash. They chose not to. A surviving professor, once a military advisor, gathered refugees and spoke in hushed tones. They left us with one lesson. One we'll never forget. They don't negotiate with those who bring fire to their door. They don't threaten. They act. Swift. Precise. Total. The crowd fell quiet. And they only speak once. UNSC War Memorial Site, Earth, Continent, North America. It had taken months to restore the Earth's skies. Ash still fell in some places, but life moved forward. A new monument stood where New York had once gleamed. Not marble or stone, but steel and black crystal recovered from destroyed Empire ships. A single phrase was engraved on the front. Never again. Beneath it, names. Millions of them. General Elias Morrow stood before the monument, alone, hands clasped behind his back. He had returned, but he had not come home. Not truly. His wife, his daughter, gone in the first orbital strike. Everything else had been vengeance. Controlled. Calculated. But vengeance nonetheless. Footsteps approached. It was Commander Salas, his most trusted officer. Her arms still bore the marks of war, though the war itself was already legend. We've had no Imperial signals for over a month, she said. They're done. Elias nodded. Good. You sure you don't want to send a peace envoy? Establish terms? Treaties? He didn't answer immediately. Then softly, no. She looked at him. They know the terms. Galactic Senate. Neutral sector 3 months later. The former empire had collapsed into dozens of fractured states. What remained now gathered in uneasy unity under a new name, the Accord of Worlds. And Earth? Earth didn't ask for a seat. They were offered one, without debate. When a human delegation entered the Great Hall, silence rippled like a shockwave. They were no weapons, no armor, just charcoal uniforms with a silver emblem, a shattered planet with wings of flame. Elias Morrow did not speak during the introductions. He simply stared down the room. Each representative felt the weight of his silence, as if the air itself remembered. When one senator dared to ask, "Will humanity retaliate further?" Elias finally spoke. Only one word. No. It was not mercy. It was completion. Virex Prime, a young Imperial child's home. A boy sat on his bed, eyes wide with fear. "Father," he whispered, "is it true that the humans came from the shadows? That they didn't talk? That they erased the Empire?" His father, once a proud logistics officer in the fleet, knelt beside him. "It is true," he said quietly. The boy's voice trembled. "Will they come back?" The man didn't lie. "If we attack their home again." The boy nodded and pulled the blanket over his shoulders. "Then we should never speak first." His father looked toward the window, where the scorched skyline still glowed faintly. "No," he said. "We speak second now. Always. Earth orbit. Human command vessel vigilance eternal." General Morrow stood in the observation deck, staring down at the reborn Earth. Peace returned, but not innocence. He knew the galaxy would remember this war, not for its length, but for its message. One sentence, one final truth. You attacked our home, and the galaxy hadn't slept since.